When it comes to lust, or any other type of temptation for that matter, what I want you to understand is that it's not actually the pleasure that is tempting you, but something else, something dark, something twisted. And you can see examples of this everywhere, even though it may sound strange at first. Let's talk about hunger. Everyone feels hunger. Everyone feels that they want food. But some people feel gluttony. That means while others eat and are satisfied, they keep going. They keep shoving food inside themselves. They keep shoving food inside themselves. They keep on going and going and going, up to the point where the pleasure becomes at first very little. Then it stops being pleasurable. And then it starts being painful, but they still keep going. Because it is not the pleasure that people are motivated by when they are addicted. It's this twisted energy, this dark energy that is inside them, that is inside of everyone, that pushes them to keep going. It tempts them with pleasure, but it gives them pain. This is the twisted nature of this type of motivation. And so, how much pleasure is there in overeating? How much pleasure is there in indulgence? How much pleasure is there in lust? Basically, none. You could even argue that more often than not, the pleasure is negative. And so, what does that mean in practice? Given that our will can deceive us so much, we have to use another type of will to balance it out. In other words, if we want to break free, we really need to be wanting to break free. Because if we do not really want it, nothing is going to happen. Because these forces are extremely powerful. They can even motivate us to indulge, even at the point where it has become painful. You understand that? This is how powerful the enemy is. And you may be saying, well, but I certainly want to quit. But the thing is, this is no offense, I'm going to be honest with you. Most people say that they want to quit, but they don't actually want to quit. They just feel trash after indulging, and so they say, well, I'm going to reform my ways, I'm going to repent and accept a new life. But then they go back into old patterns straight away, simply because they do not really want it. And so that raises the question, how do you demonstrate that you actually want to be free? And the answer is more interesting than you think, because at first you might think like, well, you use willpower. That's not exactly it, because when you get into a certain type of situation, it becomes nearly impossible to use willpower. Why is that so? Because when you actually want to indulge, the amount of willpower that is required to resist that temptation is by definition infinite. And so, it is not willpower that we need, it is the desire to reform. What does that look like in practice? In practice, it looks like this. Whenever a thought occurs in your head, you don't indulge in it. Instead, you dismiss it. I've discussed in the previous video how to do it, where I discussed the video about pride. Essentially, you can dismiss thoughts on multiple ways. For instance, you can remind yourself that you are not your thoughts. You can remind yourself that thinking these thoughts doesn't bring you closer to your goal. As a matter of fact, there is not a single goal in this lifetime that you will reach faster by thinking more prideful or lustful or any kind of tempting thought in general. Finally, you can also remind yourself that there's not really much pleasure in thinking these kinds of thoughts, and so if there's not really much pleasure and the temptation is pleasure, then that's, you know what I mean? You can also make the sign of the cross, of course, whenever it gets really bad, or just generally speaking, just make the sign of the cross and it will get better. And you can just say the Jesus prayer over and over again if you have these thoughts reoccurring. But you can also repeat the other slogans and also do all of these methods at the same time. Because the truth is, it is true that you do not profit by thinking these thoughts. They are just shadows, they are just temptations. And more often than not, your life goes downhill the more you think of them, especially if you voluntarily seek out those thoughts. Like sometimes a thought just occurs, but sometimes people seek out those thoughts actively. And this is really, really bad because it means that they don't actually want to break free. They just feel shit after indulging. And then they say, well, I want to reform my ways to not feel shit anymore. But then their thoughts tell otherwise. And you know, dismissing your thoughts may sound like this whole big thing. But it's actually not that difficult. You just have to want it. You just have to be willing to delay the 3.5 out of 10 pleasure of thinking these thoughts. And you just have to delay it for the better things that are to come. You just have to sacrifice that pleasure. But most people, because their lives are a 3 out of 10, actually find pleasure in thinking a thought that is a 3.5 out of 10. You know what I mean? At the same time, this is kind of another twist. If your life is a 3 out of 10 and you enjoy a 3.5 pleasure, then 3.5 is roughly the maximum of what you can experience. At the same time, if your life is a 10 out of 10 and you indulge in a 3.5 temptation, then your life instantly jumps from a 10 to a 3.5. This is kind of interesting, that the pleasure that you are willing to indulge in actually dictates how pleasurable your life overall is. So if you keep being stuck at the 3.5 pleasure, then it's of course bad. But if your life is a 2 out of 10, a 1 out of 10, or a 3 out of 10, then it's understandable why you would want that. But once again, if you are a 3 out of 10 in terms of life satisfaction and your life in general, and you don't indulge in that 3.5 pleasure, then your life instantly moves up in quality. And so it's just a matter of intelligence. It's just a matter of delaying gratification. It's just a matter of hope that if you delay gratification, if you dismiss these thoughts, your life will get better. And I can tell you from experience that if you have these types of thoughts and you keep dismissing them, the good days will come. And when you get tempted extremely hard and you do not fall, what follows is a few days or sometimes months that feel like paradise. I can tell you that from first-hand experience. It happened many times again. If you get tempted really hard and then you don't indulge and you get tempted even harder and harder and harder and you don't fall, it's going to get easier. But you must have faith in that it will get easier. Otherwise, there's no reason to continue. And you must, of course, want to break free. You must want to be willing to delay gratification. This is very simple, but you must want it. Otherwise, everything else is just going to be a waste of time, you know? Now that we've discussed that you must want to change, I want to discuss a few practical methods that have really helped me to get rid of my lust, or not get rid of it, because getting rid of it is actually really miserable, but to not struggle with it in this compulsive and twisted way. Like a life where you don't feel lust is actually kind of depressing and boring. But if you manage to feel sexual desire and not feel the compulsions and this twisted motivation, then life is paradise. And so, how was I able to reduce this compulsive and dark and twisted part by, I would say, maybe 85%, maybe 90%. How was I able to do it? I can tell you the first method, after we've established that you need to be willing to change. And the first method that has really helped me was to get rid of the internet app on my computer and the device that produces these internet waves at home. This may sound like a complete tangent, but the more you think about it, the less of a tangent it becomes. Because look, the internet is full of content, which is a direct temptation. And trust me, I have been addicted for about a year. It is a massive temptation. And even after you break free, it's not like there are no temptations, because even the thumbnails can be tempting, and even the content of videos can be tempting. Even though they may have nothing to do with sexuality, they may still be tempting, because seeing skin alone is already really bad most of the time. Sometimes even seeing hair in certain cultures, it's considered that way, is bad. And so, given that, we can kind of see why the internet is so full of temptation. If we were to ignore both the direct temptations and the triggers, we also must acknowledge that the internet makes your life shit in many different ways. For instance, because you waste a lot of time, you are more stressed. Because you are stressed, you have more negative emotion, more anxiety, more depression. And so you become more prone to accepting the 3.5 pleasure of thinking lustful thoughts, if your life is a 3 out of 10, because of all the stress and all the procrastination and all these sleepless nights, and so on, and so on, and so on. And it's not only that, but the internet also makes you worse in practically every single way. Like, if you don't go outside, you don't see the sun, your testosterone is lower. If you don't have time to go to the gym because you scroll too much, your testosterone is lower, your health is lower, you socialize less. Just everything goes downhill, right? And when everything goes downhill, your life quality goes downhill, and then all of a sudden, the 3.5 pleasure of indulgence all of a sudden starts to seem really attractive. Furthermore, the internet, if we were to remove all the content, all the temptations, all the wasted time, all the wasted potential, the internet itself is a place that is dominated by weak people. Because why should anyone with a life spend all their time on the internet? And the content on the internet largely reflects that. It's full of weak people. And when you watch these weak people, you get this weak mindset. And when you get a weak mindset, you start to think that suddenly it's okay to indulge in a 3.5 pleasure. And it is not. Because when you go outside, the people who fall for a 3.5 pleasure are not living good lives. They're not respected much, not loved much. Just everything is kind of shit when you settle for a 3.5 pleasure, you know? But the internet makes you think that that's normal or okay. It's not. So now I want to discuss how I did it in practice, because we've now discussed why the internet is so bad. So I have deleted the internet app that I have used for indulgence, and instead I only have one that has where I'm logged into every account. And because I'm very afraid of things like tracking cookies, your network provider being able to read what you do, and search history and all these kinds of things, I have never dared to cross that line again, which is very good. This may not work for you if you don't care about these things, but for me, it has worked wonders. And now I only have this one other app that I'm logged into every account, in the hotel account, in the flights account, in the email account. I'm all logged in there. And so I won't ever dare to type something I know I'm not supposed to type. And you can use this principle generally, like this is equivalent to moving to a new place or to getting to know new people. This is all kind of equivalent because when you establish something new, you have this kind of expectation that you don't want to mess it up. And so this is essentially this, and you can use this as well. Now, how did I get rid of the device that produces internet? Well, it's simple. I don't pay for it anymore. So, problem solved. And now I have a little bit of mobile data on my phone, which means that when there's something urgent coming up that I need to do at home, I can turn on mobile data and use it. I also have enough mobile data to make phone calls, to write emails, to do these kind of things, but for not much outside of that. If I want to do something outside of that, I actually go outside, like to the university, to the library, sometimes even into the cafe. I go there, and there I have internet. And this is also amazing actually, because it makes me spend less time inside, meaning I'm less depressed, like I'm less depressed from being alone all day long because I'm physically forced to go outside and forced to socialize. I also have a clearer separation between work and non-work, which means my sleep is better, my presence is better, and generally speaking, I get a lot more done because I procrastinate significantly less and also don't do all the nonsense tasks that feel as though you are doing something, but you're actually not. And also, all of these things combined just make my life paradise, because not only do I have less negative emotion, less anxiety, less insecurity, I also go outside more, I sleep better, I am more productive. All these things just got so much better after I deleted the internet app and got rid of the device that can summon the internet waves. It just got so much better. I would say in the last, let's say, year, this has been the best thing that could have happened to me. And it's something as simple as getting rid of your internet device. If you are unable to do so because you, let's say, live with people who need internet, I don't know what to recommend you. I don't know. Perhaps you could get a work computer and work at your work, just as I do with my computer at the university. This is probably also going to have the benefits of separating work and rest. Yeah, do that. Otherwise, I don't know how else you would do it. I don't know. Now, also, when it comes to computers and all these kinds of things, I also want you to install all of the blockers for the websites, all of the other extensions that, like, for instance, hide the video thumbnails or hide non-educational videos. I also want you to use the black and white mode, if you have it, and use this night light where your screen becomes red instead of blue. Use all of them all at the same time, because we want to add as much friction as possible. And then finally, you can also use some rules. Like my rule, for instance, is that after 6 in the evening, I do not start a new task. That way, I make sure that I go to bed on time and sleep well, and then can get up extremely early, because when I get up extremely early, I am extremely focused, and temptations basically don't even cross my mind at that time, which is amazing. Now, the second thing that has really, really helped me to struggle less with lust may sound extremely unstraightforward, but it's actually not. It's to focus on increasing your testosterone. Why is that? Why does that work? Well, for one, if your testosterone goes up, your determination goes up as well. And the thing is, for a little bit more testosterone, your determination climbs significantly. And so, the more testosterone you have, the easier it actually becomes to stay disciplined and to not give in into certain thoughts. And you already know this, right? Like, who's more likely to struggle with lust? The beta males or the normal people? It's the beta males, even though they have lower testosterone. So why is that? Well, obviously, just as we've discussed in the very beginning of this video, this is because lust has nothing to do with sexual desire. It's this perversion of things. It's this twisted desire that's actually at hand. And so it makes sense why increasing your testosterone does not increase your lust. It rather decreases it because your determination goes up. Also, in order to get testosterone, you must have your life in order. Like, you must eat good food, you must sleep well, you must exercise, you must talk to people, you must go outside. You must do all these things, which by themselves reduce the likelihood that you slip back, also reduce the desire to slip back, also reduce the ability to slip back because you are not at home, right? You are outside doing things. And overall, it just spirals uphill. It keeps spiraling uphill because in order to get high testosterone, you have to do good things, and those good things then make you even better and also make your testosterone higher. Now, I want you, before I move on to the next point, you may still struggle to believe this, but trust me, you absolutely can. It will work, even though it seems so counterintuitive. Increasing your testosterone makes you struggle less with lust, not more. Now, the third set of tips that I can give you are going to be extremely autistic, but are extremely important. What I want you to do is write down every single mistake that you are making. Or, generally speaking, you want to be accountable. You can be accountable to your friends, you can be accountable to your diary. I choose to be accountable to my diary because that is quicker than messaging my friends. So, in my diary, I write down every mistake that I am making. So when I slip back, I write down, why did I slip back? What has made me slip back? How long did I slip back? Why did I not get up? What could have prevented it? And so on and so on and so on. And from this method, I have derived many different things that have made my life significantly better and significantly more effortless. Like, I can tell you something that I found already a year ago. Whenever I would come home from the gym, I would usually waste about 2 hours doing nothing really. Not scrolling, not eating, not cleaning, not doing homework, nothing essentially. And so I asked myself, why is that? And I came to the answer. In order to not waste these 2 hours, I must dedicate 10 minutes. These 10 minutes can be dedicated to, number one, buying a piece of bread or a yogurt in the store after I go to the gym while waiting for the tram. And number two, going to the shower straight away after the gym so that I won't waste as much time, so that I will feel clean and can go right back into doing things. When you radically self-analyze yourself, you will find many such simple things that have massive return on investment. Like when you, after going to the gym, you shower straight away when you come home, and that's how you're going to be more productive. When it comes to lust, I have identified, for example, that if I have a plan, what I'm going to do the next day, my struggle with lust becomes significantly less. Because I don't get bored, don't get depressed, don't get anxious. All these things don't happen when you have a plan that is realistic and pleasurable. I have a very good plan, I would say, for the day. So my typical plan for the day looks like this, approximately. I get up at 5, then I work till around 6:30. Then I eat a little bit. Then I work till around 9, 10, 11, or 12, depending on the day. Then I eat, then I go to the gym. And after that, I'm basically free because by that time, I will have made more progress, I will have achieved more than would be necessary by the tasks and homework that we are given. Which means that after 12, I'm basically free to do whatever I want. And that's an amazing day. And you can use the same thing. You can steal my exact routine. And when you do that, your life will probably go up as well. Unless you are. I don't mean to say that you should adopt my routine, your life will get better. I meant to say, if you adopt a routine, your life will get better. If you have none already. And of course, it must suit your style. But that's not... You have to figure it out, not me. So go figure it out. So one random thing that has helped me is to write down on a piece of paper what I'm going to do at what time. Sometimes it's not necessary because I know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but sometimes it is necessary to just write it down. And this simple thing has made my life so much better. Sometimes I write it down the evening before. Usually I write it down the evening before. I also turn off my electronic devices and to do all these different things, all of these different behaviors. There's 100 of them. Each make it simpler to not fall back and to stay on virtuous ways. And I want you to do the same. Face absolute accountability, either with a friend or with a diary. I recommend you use a diary actually, because it's just quicker to take out your diary and write something in it that is to message your friends. And when you message your friends, there's also this kind of friction whether you should not lie a little bit, But with a diary, it's not necessary to lie. You write down the truth and that's it. And that's how you make progress day by day by day. Now, this is basically how I reduced my struggle with lust. The first and most important way is to dismiss the thoughts that you shouldn't be thinking. Because temptations are everywhere. You must start with the thoughts, because otherwise, if you kind of want to indulge, if you're debating it, you will lose almost certainly. Because as we've established, it's not actually the pleasure that is tempting us. It's this twisted desire. And when you give into that twisted desire, by definition, the required willpower is infinite because you kind of want it, That's why you focus on dismissing the thoughts right away. And you can use the Jesus prayer, for example, for it. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. You can use this one. Or you can use the other slogans there's no point in thinking these thoughts because there's no goal that you'll get closer to by thinking them. You can also, for instance, remind yourself that the pleasure of these temptations, of these pleasurable things, is not actually that large. Then, you get rid of your devices, you mostly stop using the internet, and when you do that, you automatically go outside more, you sleep better. All these things improve. And when these things improve, you are less likely to slip back. Also, I want you to be conscious of your testosterone and work to increase it, because that also makes your life easier. And finally, face absolute accountability. Write down every single mistake that you're making without lying to yourself. Above all, don't lie to yourself. And then you can analyze where you have made the mistakes, why you have made them, and then climb the ladder. And then you can ascend. And so, my name is Kalle. My goal is to inspire 10,000 good decisions. And if this video helped you, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.